And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, April 16th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into all that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, gsmcpodcast.net. That is gsmcpodcast.net. So, let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So, we're going to start off the show. We are going to recap last night's play-in games with the Magic and the Hawks and the Warriors and the Grizzlies. We'll get into that. We'll also preview. In the second part of the show, we will preview today's play-in games. We got the Heat and the Bulls tonight, as well as the Mavericks and the Kings later. That's the later game. Then in the third part of the show, we will talk about Nico Harrison. So we will talk more about the Mavericks in the third part of the show. There was a private press conference or Q&A with the media, and he had some comments on the Luka trade, how he has no regrets on the Luka trade, so we'll get into that. Then we'll talk about Juan Soto, because Juan Soto's been making headlines a lot because of things that he has been saying to the media. Recently, there was an article that came out. He was quoted saying, how talking about the approach that pitchers are having with him, a different approach that they are taking with him, and he was directly asked about that, and talking about how is it different compared to last year, and his comments sparked a lot of controversy. So we'll get into that as well, and then in the final part of the show, I'll continue my post free agency power rankings. Today we will be covering the AFC North. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about last night's games to start off the play-in tournament. So the Magic were able to pick up the win last night over the Hawks. It was competitive for a little bit, but the Magic, pulled away. The Hawks hung around in the second half. I mean, they weren't getting blown out until we really got to the fourth quarter. That's when the Magic really pulled away, and they ended up winning 120-95. But yeah, they outscored the Hawks 41-22 in the fourth quarter. The Hawks outscored the Magic 26-18 after the third quarter. So the score at that point, after the third quarter, was, if I could find, it was 79-73. So the game was still in reach. But like I said, the Magic put up 41 in the fourth quarter. They outscored them, the Hawks, by 19, and they got the win. And they did well in the first quarter as well. They outscored the Hawks 32-17. So the first and the fourth quarters were dominated by the Magic, and then the Hawks, they outscored the Magic in the second and third quarters. Trae Young last night did not have a great shooting night. He went 8 of 21, went 1 for 5 from 3, but he went 11 of 12 from the free throw line. He finished with 28 points last night, so he was their leading scorer. And then on the other side, looking at the Magic, Paolo Banchero had 17 points. Franz Wagner had 13 points. He had a double-double. He had 13 rebounds as well. Wendell Carter Jr. had 19 points. 26 points off the bench from Cole Anthony. He had a good shooting night. 10 of 17, 4 of 9 from 3. Anthony Black as well. He had a good shooting night. He went 6 of 7 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3. And looking at the comparisons of both teams, so the Hawks shot 38% from the field, which is not good. They went 4 of 21 from 3. Both teams did not shoot the 3 last night. As I was watching that, both teams just really could not knock down their 3-point shots. 4 of 21 from 3 for the Hawks. 11 of 39 from 3 were the Magic. They went 28. They were 28.2% from that range. Both teams close to 80% from the free throw line last night. The Magic had 62 rebounds to the Hawks 50. So Yeah, the Magic move on. They will be taking on the Celtics in the first round. So for the Hawks, they wait the winner of tonight's game between the Heat and the Bulls, and whoever wins that game will then play the number one seeded Cavs. So there was that game. I thought it would maybe be a little bit closer, but like the previous meetings, but that did not happen. So now we go to the other game, Warriors and the Grizzlies. Now the Warriors came out on fire to start the game. Well, actually, the Grizzlies did in the beginning. They were up 11-3 to start the game, but then the Warriors ended up taking the lead, going up by as much as 10. Actually, no, by going up as much as 13 in the first quarter. But then the Grizzlies made it closer towards the end there. So it was 31-25 at the end of the first quarter. Warriors outscored the Grizzlies 36-30 in the second quarter. The Grizzlies did play a lot better in the second half because the Warriors had control of this game, and then they let the Grizzlies get back in it. The Grizzlies at one point took the lead, but clutch shooting from Steph Curry had made a couple of clutch threes down the stretch last night, and they made their free throws at the end when they needed to, because the Grizzlies still were in it. I mean, this game, it took a while for it to end, but with all the fouls, but the Warriors were able to get the win, and they got key contributions, of course, from Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler as well. Steph Curry finished with 37 points last night, went 9 of 22 from the field, 6 of 13 from three, but made some clutch threes, like I said, down the stretch there in the game last night, and he was great from the free throw line, was flawless from the free throw line, went 13 of 13. Jimmy Butler, 38 points last night, 12 of 20 from the field, 2 of 4 from three, 12 of 18 from the free throw line. That's kind of the recipe for the Warriors, right? Is these two guys. These are the two guys that are going to lead the Warriors to the promised land if they're able to do that. And, the other thing, too, is, if one of them has an off night, the other could have a great night, and that could be the difference, I think that, if we could get more of this Jimmy Butler, that makes the Warriors an even more dangerous team as we get into the playoffs. Now that they are in the playoffs, they will be taking on in the first round now, since they're the 7th seed, they will be taking on the Rockets. And Steph Curry has never lost a playoff series to the Rockets. He's 4-0. So, and now this is a different Rockets team. This is not the James Harden and Chris Paul Rockets. This is a young team that had a great season, and I really didn't watch their games this year, so I'm going to get a chance to see what they're all about. But they're a very good team, and that's who the Warriors will be going up against this upcoming weekend. But the Grizzlies, they had a chance there, to get the win. But like I said, they played better in the second half, but they came up short. 121-116 was the final for them. 4 out of the 5 starters scored in the double digits. John Morant had 22 points last night. Left the game briefly, but I'm pretty sure he did make his return. Desmond Bane, 30 points last night. Zach Edey had 14. Jaren Jackson had 18 points. So, contributions from their starters, it's just they came up short there, like I said. And then looking at the comparison of both teams, you had the Grizzlies. They shot better than the Warriors last night, 48.8%. I mean, the Warriors took more shots. Actually, no. The Warriors took more threes. The Grizzlies had one more shot last night. The Warriors went 45, basically 46% from the field. Both teams were not great from the three-point line. Warriors went 15 of 43. Grizzlies went 12 of 26. The Grizzlies actually out-rebounded the Warriors. The thing you worry about the Warriors, too, is they're a little bit undersized. But, look, if you're getting 38 and 37 from Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, you'll live with that. But, yeah, it does set up a very interesting series with the Rockets. And, we'll see what happens. But the Grizzlies now, they await the winner of the Mavericks and the Kings. That'll be tonight. Like I said, though, tough loss for them. The Warriors, though, they get off the schneid. They win a play-in game finally. So, yeah, well, we'll see who they end up. The Grizzlies now. We'll see where they will be playing or who they will be playing, because it'll be a home game for them the next time they play. But let me know what you guys think about the two games from last night. For the Magic, I mean, you're going up against the Celtics. That's a tall task. They pushed the Cavs to 7 games last year, although the Cavs are a much better team this year. So they did get that playoff experience last year, but the Celtics are in a whole nother stratosphere than the Magic. But the Magic are healthy. They're playing well at the right time. So, I could see them maybe stealing a game, but the Celtics should win that series relatively easy, in my opinion. And then, for the Rockets and the Warriors, that's an interesting series, The Western Conference is must-see TV. It is. I think all the series that we're getting on that side of the bracket, I think you're going to see some very good playoff series. So... but yeah, let me know what you guys think about the games last night. Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our first break of the show now, and then when we come back, we will preview the two games for tonight: Bulls and the Heat, and the Mavericks and the Kings. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast, and for the second part of the show, we are now going to preview the play-in games for tonight, the Bulls and the Heat, and the Mavericks and the Kings. So these games, actually, Bulls-Heat could be entertaining, although I kind of lean towards the Bulls in that game. Mavs, it's interesting just because... you want to see what this team is going to do in a big spot now post-Luka. And believe me, we're not done with the Luka talk just yet for today, because we're going to talk about Nico Harrison in the third part of the show, the midway point. But the Heat and the Bulls have actually, matched up in the play-in before. This isn't the first time. They've been in the play-in a handful of times. Since the play-in was implemented. And, for the Heat, it's interesting, because when you look at the Heat and you look at the Mavericks as well, both teams traded their star players, and both teams are, in the playoffs right now, and they're trying to get into the playoffs. Now, the Heat, they have a chance because the Eastern Conference is weak. And, listen, the Western Conference is amazing. But, when you look at the top 8. But the other two teams, realistically, they shouldn't really have a chance to make the playoffs, right? Both of these teams, the Kings and the Kings traded away someone too. They traded away De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. So both teams realistically shouldn't have an opportunity to get into the playoffs. And look, they still need to beat, the winner of this game needs to beat the Grizzlies. So, but for both teams, so to go back to the Eastern Conference matchup, shall we? So yeah, they are playing, the Bulls and the Heat are playing in their third straight play-in game. They both traded away players at the deadline. For the Heat, they traded away Jimmy Butler. That whole saga. But yeah, both teams have played well down the stretch. The Bulls swept the regular season series versus the Heat. Looking at their matchups, the Bulls won 133-124 in the first game, 114-109 in the second game, and then 119-111 in the third game. The Bulls have shot 50% from the field, 40% from three, 33-plus assists in both games. The Bulls have outscored the Heat 75-41 in fourth quarters of the first two games. They've looked better as of late. Like I said, both teams have looked better as of late. The Bulls, they finished around 500. They won 3 straight to close out the year. They were 7-3 in their last 10 games. And for the Heat, they finished 37-45 on the year. They were 6-4 in their last 10 games. But yeah, looking at the comparison, you'd expect a big game out of Kobe White. The last time they went up against the Heat, he had 18 points in that game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Tyler Hero, he's had a very good season. He's averaged almost 24 points per game. And actually, did well down the stretch for the Heat. Of course, they still got Bam Adebayo as well. But I do like the Bulls in this game. They are the home team for this. They've kind of, they've owned the Heat. Now, you do have to respect Eric Spoelstra because he's still there. And, they maybe have something up their sleeve. But, I don't know. For me, the Heat are kind of there because the Eastern Conference is not great. And as well, same thing for the Bulls. So, I'm going to lean towards the Bulls in this game. Both home teams went 2-0 yesterday, so we're going to continue that. Well, I'm going to hope that trend continues today. I'm going to take the Bulls, though. And then for the later game, you got the Mavericks and the Kings. Both teams, they traded away guys. Like I said, De'Aaron Fox was traded to the Spurs. And, of course, Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers. Now, Anthony Davis, who the Mavericks got in the Luka trade, he has played well. I expect him to play well tonight. There are some respectable players on the Kings side with Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Sabonis, Valanciunas. Got to give them respect. The Mavericks, there's no Kyrie Irving, but you do have Anthony Davis and everybody else, Klay Thompson, Gafford, PJ Washington. You got all those guys, Spencer Dinwiddie. I think this is big for Nico Harrison because, at least every win just buys you more time. because we'll get into the second part. We'll get into the second part of this Mavericks discussion when we get into the next segment. But fans are just up in arms over what this season became, what transpired. And this game for me is a toss-up. I'm kind of leaning towards the Kings in this game. I want to take the Mavericks because I feel bad. Now, that's not to say like I don't think the Mavericks have a chance, but I'm leaning towards the Kings right now. The Kings have been in this before. They knocked off the Warriors. I think it was last year in the play-in. They did at some point in the play-in. But yeah, and looking at how both teams looked down the stretch, Kings went 5-5 in their last 10 games. Mavericks went 4-6. Kings finished 40-42 on the year. Mavericks finished 39-43. So, again, like I said, if the play-in wasn't a thing, they wouldn't even, be still playing, but they are. But I am leaning towards the Kings. I am leaning towards the Kings tonight. Could be close, but I don't know. That's just my gut feeling. Is the Kings tonight? So I'm gonna go with the Bulls and the Kings. So both home teams win tonight, and they move on in the play-in. So if the Kings win, they'll move on to take on the Grizzlies. Bulls move on, they will take on the Hawks. So, and I think we've seen that play-in matchup before as well. But let me know what you guys think, though, about these two matchups tonight. Who do you think wins? Let me know in the comments. So, yeah, once that happens, we'll have the other play-in games. And then Saturday starts the real thing. And it does look like I will potentially be at Madison Square Garden for Game 1, Knicks-Pistons. I have never been to an NBA game before. I really want to go. Now, the tickets are very pricey. And it's one of those things, you do it and you don't look back. Because going to Madison Square Garden for a Knicks playoff game, I mean, that atmosphere is going to be incredible. I've been to a handful of Yankee playoff games now. But now, like, my first NBA game is potentially going to be a Knicks playoff game, which I'm excited for. I really am. Hopefully the Knicks win. But, got to buy the tickets first. But I'm willing to sacrifice the significant amount to witness this event. So, yeah, there's that little bit of news. So, before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCpodcast.net. That is GSMCpodcast.net. So, when we come back from our next break, we will talk about, more so on Nico Harrison, some comments he had on the Luka trade, and how he has no regrets. So we will get into that when we come back from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast, and for the third part of the show, we are now going to talk about Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks, and some recent comments that he said in a private meeting with the media on the Luka trade, and how he has no regrets. So it was a private, no-camera roundtable with select media. I think it was recorded. Now, this is him first on record appearance since the trade. And to look at the exact quotes from this roundtable, what he said. So, to kind of go through it, there's no regrets on the trade. This is from him. Part of my job is to do the best thing for the Mavericks. Not only today, but also in the future. And some of the decisions I'm going to make are going to be unpopular. That's my job, and I have to stand by it. Also addressing the fan base. Well, the beauty of Dallas is it is a passionate fan base. For us to reach our goals, we need that fan base. And to be honest with you, every trade I've made since I've been here has not been regarded as a good trade. And so sometimes it takes time. When I traded for Kyrie, it was met with a lot of skepticism, and it was graded as a terrible trade. And you didn't see it right away. But eventually, everyone agreed that that was a great trade. When I traded for Gafford in Washington again, it was like, oh, he gave up way too much. These guys aren't going to help us. Now, that trade, you saw the evidence a lot sooner. So I think a lot of times, trades take a little bit of time, but our philosophy, like I said, going forward, is defense wins championships, and we're built on defense, and this trade cements us for that. So, when you look at that quote especially, he brings up the Kyrie trade, the Gafford trade, PJ Washington trade, and that's all fine and good. But here's the thing. You traded a top three player in the NBA for Anthony Davis, who's a good player. He's a good player. But, you know, it's a guy that tends to get injured. He got hurt in the first game that he played with the Mavericks. And, you know, he's not in his prime anymore. So, I get it. Now, we never really got to see this team at full strength once they traded Luka, because there was always someone hurt. They got ravaged by injuries. So much so that they almost had to forfeit games. Or potentially forfeit games. So, I will defend him in that respect. But, you traded away one of the best players in the league right now. And the other thing, too, is the Mavericks have lost a lot of money from sponsorships, advertisements, because Luka was a cash cow when it came to revenue. And you traded that away. And we had this discussion in our production meeting as well. You know, could that potentially lead to Nico Harrison being let go, you know, after the season's over? Because, you know, he's still in the middle of his contract. But, you know, if the Mavericks lose a lot of money, I mean, someone's got to be held accountable. He traded away Luka. Now, ownership gave him approval to do so. The new ownership group. But somebody's got to be the fall guy, right? And he's ultimately going to end up being the fall guy. But he caused this. You know, ownership could have said, no, we don't want to trade our franchise player. They did that. They did it anyways. And Mavericks fans are not going to forget. Now, this is going to continue until he's out of a job. Now, if this team, you know, comes back healthy next year, he's still there, and they have this very good year, they go on and win a championship, all right, well, everybody's going to be quiet then, but that's not going to happen. I don't think this current iteration of the Mavericks is going to get to a championship. I don't think that. The Western Conference is loaded. And I just think ultimately, you know, guys are going to get hurt again. So I don't see it. But to say you have, I mean, obviously, he's not going to say, like, we'll talk about someone being more honest in the next segment when we talk about baseball briefly. But, of course he's going to say he has no regrets. You know, this is someone in the front office talking. He's not going to say, yeah, I regret making that trade. However, I think somewhere inside of him he does regret it. Because that display that we saw in Dallas when Luka made his return, and you had fans cheering for him every time he touched the ball, and you were hearing fire Nico, fire Nico, fire Nico over and over and over again, especially towards the end of the game. It's a bad look. And on top of that, this team went to the finals last year with Luka and Kyrie. They made it to the finals last year. And you pulled the plug on that. So, of course, fans are going to be upset. This was a guy that was supposed to be the franchise guy. He was going to be the next Dirk Nowitzki. He was going to be there forever. He wasn't going anywhere. At least how we all looked at it, he wasn't going anywhere. And they said, "No, we're good. We got issues with, you know, his workout routine and all that, you know." And yeah, I guess that's, you know, you want to see him, you know, be in better shape, but when he's going out and he's dropping 30 points a night, I mean, he dropped 31 points in the first half against you in your own arena. You know, like, what more do you need to... I mean, I think he's all right with what he's doing right now. But that's what he decided to do. And he definitely could have gotten more because it's Luka. You know, you could have got more trade. You could have got more assets. But didn't. They decided that the trade they made with the Lakers was the right one. And I you know, I don't want to knock Anthony Davis because, again, Anthony Davis is a good player. It's just he cannot stay healthy, and he's an older player now. Like, if you were trading, you know, Luka for prime Anthony Davis, again, like, you would still get a couple of, you would, not a couple, but you would get eye rolls you would still get those looks, but again, you'd be trading for another player who's in their prime right now. But he's not. So, and now we'll see what happens tonight. But Mavericks season could be over tonight. And if that happens, I mean, we'll see. Because them losing money off the court, I mean, that could lead to him losing his job. That could put pressure on ownership. I mean, look, you got fans cheering these Fire Nico chants. That's not going to go away. Unless you do something. Now, I listen, I'm not going to advocate for him to, lose his job. But it does, make ownership have to, weigh their options. I think he's going to stay. But I do think, like, if the Mavericks do end up having this horrible season next year, because I kind of will give them a pass on the injuries. But if they go out next year, they're fully healthy. Kyrie comes back, Anthony Davis, everybody's healthy. Klay Thompson, I haven't mentioned his name, Klay Thompson. And they don't have a good year, then you got to make a decision on what the future is for him. That's how I look at it. I mean, that's the thing. They brought in Klay Thompson to be that third option. And then all of a sudden, they just traded Luka. I don't know. But they wanted to be more of a defensive team. But, we'll see what happens tonight. I'm curious to see what they end up doing tonight. But what do you guys think about what Nico Harrison had to say? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our next break. And then when we come back, we'll talk baseball. We're going to talk about Juan Soto, talking about how he's being approached this year at the plate by opposing pitchers and why, it's caused a bit of a controversy. And I'll talk about whether it's a big deal or not. We'll get into that when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are now going to talk about Juan Soto and his comments, his recent comments on how he's being approached this year by opposing pitchers. So it has sparked up some controversy. It has done that. And it has to do with a question he was asked on it, and his answer led to, again, a bunch of people speaking out on it. So he was asked. This was an article in the New York Post. How is the approach this year? Different from last year when you were batting in front of Aaron Judge. And Soto basically said, Aaron Judge is the best hitter in the league. And, I was getting better pitches last year when, I was batting in front of him. So, approach is different now. And this just led to, sports talk radio, all this, outcry over his comments and, why would he say that? And look, I think my way of thinking, if had this had come out, I don't know, 5 years ago, I maybe would have said something different. This is what I would say. I do think that, well, first of all, Soto's honest, being honest, okay? And he was asked a question. Now, I know some people are saying, well, he could have answered it differently. He didn't have to be so direct, Okay. But he was asked a question, and he answered it. He said Aaron Judge is the best hitter in the league. And, yeah, I was approached differently. Now, some people are saying, oh, he kind of like threw Pete Alonso under the bus. I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. Because Pete Alonso, I mean, he has gotten off to a great start. And if he keeps this up, if he plays like this the entire year, he is going to be in for a huge payday because he will opt out. And, who knows if the Mets give him that money or they let him walk and they, look for another option at first base. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is not on the table now because he, signed his extension. Also, he hasn't hit a home run this year, which I find very strange. We're halfway through April already, and he still hasn't hit a home run. But that's besides the point. Pete Alonso has had a great year. Great start. Soto has gotten off to a bit of a slow start, but you know what? He gets on base. The production might not be there. The home runs and the RBIs might not be there, although he did homer again last night. But he is still getting on base. The numbers might not be as great as last year, but you know what? We kind of expected that. And I've been saying this constantly. He is going to have a great season. He is. I have no questions about it. Got to watch him a whole year. Know what he's about. He's 26. He's still got many years of his prime left. Might not even have entered his prime yet. Nah, he's in his prime. But still, he's going to be fine. But it's just everybody, because they brought up Aaron Judge. And this is not the first time that Soto has brought up the Yankees. And, now it's like, well, he's got to stop talking about the Yankees. But it doesn't help when you have reporters asking these type of questions. Now, I understand. You could answer it different ways so to kind of diffuse it, to deflect. And Aaron Judge is getting asked these questions too. And Aaron Judge, gave an Aaron Judge response to it. He said, look, Soto's got one of the best hitters in the league and Pete Alonso batting behind him. He's going to be, he's going to be fine. They're trying to get something out of this. And I understand that. And this is going to continue. Like, if you think it's going to stop here, I mean, I don't think it is. Because we still didn't even get to the first game at the Bronx. That is exactly 1 month from today. Is Soto's return to Yankee Stadium. 1 month from today. Actually, no. Is it 1 month from today? Month and a day. But, it's coming up. It's going to be here before we know it. And you know that there is going to be so many questions. Yeah, it's 1 month from today. Exactly 1 month from today. Friday, May 16th in the Bronx. I will be there. So this isn't over. Now, I don't think we're going to see this stuff we're not going to see this for the next 15 years, constantly, talking about the Yankees with Soto. Look, I think you'll hear about it, this year, and then we'll move on. I mean, yeah, they're going to play in the Subway Series, but it's not going to be, I don't think the juice is going to be the same like it is, with this year here. Now, obviously, if you're from the New York area, you're a Yankee fan, you're always going to hear about Soto because, he didn't leave New York. He just left the Yankees. So, yeah, you're going to hear about him a lot. But, yeah, it's just this first year, it's going to be constant. And it's also because, yeah, he hasn't gotten off to the best start. But once he picks it up, that's the other thing, too. If he picks it up, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. So, yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I do think, like, in my opinion, I do think there's a part of him that does miss being on the Yankees. I do think that. Because, yeah, you got to hit in front of Aaron Judge. It was a great, I mean, look, the 1 year that we got of Juan Soto and Aaron Judge was the best it could have been. Other than, like, yeah, they could have won a championship together. But still, I mean, they almost had 100 home runs combined. You know, I mean, they were batting, 2 and 3 in the line. It was great. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I miss that as a Yankee fan. But he left. And I don't hold, any grudges against him for it. Because, to be honest, yeah, I'm appreciative of what he did the 1 year he was with the Yankees. And, I knew that there was a great chance that, yeah, he's going to leave and go elsewhere and take more money. And that's what he did. Now, there might have been some other things included in the deal with the Mets that sweetened the deal and swayed him to, stay with the to go with the Mets and sign with the Mets. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I knew that was a possibility. He was traded to the Yankees. He wasn't a homegrown Yankee that was grown and developed in the system and, came up and, and then he just goes to the Mets. No. He was traded to the Yankees for 1 year in the middle of his career and then in a contract year, and then he left. It's because of the name. Like, had that have been, some other guy that, got traded here and, had a good year and then left, and it wasn't a big name like Juan Soto, it wouldn't be like this. We wouldn't be getting these kinds of reactions. But because it's Juan Soto, who is a generational talent, was with the Yankees for 1 year, had a great year, and then he ends up going to the Mets and taking more money. Circumstance. So, look, yeah, he's being approached differently. Yeah, it makes sense. But, I mean, do we really, like, yeah, should he stop talking about the Yankees? Could he have said something differently? Yeah. But I also do agree, hey, a lot of people in the media want athletes to be honest, right? And then when they're honest, they get bashed for it. So which one is it? Do you want them to be honest, or do you not want them to speak their mind? Or are you going to get annoyed when they speak their mind? What is it? You can't have both. Got to pick one or the other. So, yeah, it is a nothing burger. I know people are saying it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal. But I also do think that, and the media does have a job to do. They have to ask questions. They got to get stories that, they want people to read. So they are going to ask these kind of questions, because when you get these kind of answers, then, hey, you can write something on it. And then that gets people reading, that gets people talking. So it's just, that's just how it is right now. But, Soto's honest, being honest. Of course he's going to get pitched differently. But, I don't think this is going to affect, the Mets inside that room. They've gotten off to a good start. I know some people are talking about the light schedule that they've had to deal with. But you know what? Hey, look, this is their schedule right now. Win the games you're supposed to. That's what I was trying to say. Win the games you're supposed to, and that's what they've done. So, yeah, they've gotten off to a good start, but all we're hearing is, Soto's still talking about the Yankees. That's just how it is. So, but let me know what you guys think, though, about, the Juan Soto stuff that's been happening. Again, homered last night. He's going to have a good year. All right, and this stuff is going to go away at some point. I mean, obviously, you might still hear about it from time to time because, he's still playing in New York and the Mets and Yankees play each other every year. Well, everybody plays everybody every year now. So, yeah. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. So we got one more segment for today. When we come back from our final break of the show, we will rank the teams in the AFC North post free agency. So for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we are going to do our AFC North rankings post free agency. So let's get right into that. So we're going to start off at number 4. Number 4, I have the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns this offseason, they acquired Kenny Pickett via trade. They just recently signed Joe Flacco. They signed Jerome Baker, DeAndre Carter, Malik Collins, Devin Bush, former Steeler. The Browns only won 3 games last year. Now, the reason why I have them last is because the quarterback position. Like Joe Flacco took them on a magic carpet ride a couple years ago, but that was, he only played, 5 or 6 games? Joe Flacco's not going to start over the course of a 17-game season. And then, you got Kenny Pickett. I mean, I think Kenny Pickett could win you some games, but not that much. So, and I don't know what they're going to do with their running back situation. They still have Jerome Ford, I believe. But Nick Chubb's not coming back. I mean, again, we'll see how the draft goes. But right now, I got them number 4. Just because when it comes to the Steelers, their quarterback situation might not be great at the moment. But we're still waiting on, Aaron Rodgers and what his deal is, if he's going to sign with the team. I mean, is he going to sign? I think he is. I mean, everybody's kind of like, why is he taking so long? But, yeah, he's going to sign. I think, yeah, he's probably still holding out hope that the Vikings, maybe come back and say, you know what, we'll give you a shot. Because supposedly Aaron Rodgers made a pitch to them, but I guess they weren't interested. So we'll see. Or maybe they told them they're going to think about it, and we just don't know that. I don't know. But, yeah, so the Steelers and the Browns are kind of in the same spot. I think the Browns will win more than 3 games next year. I think they will be more competitive. But I don't know. The Steelers, to me, the Steelers haven't finished with a losing record with Mike Tomlin. They're somehow going to find a way to win, 8 or 9 games. Now, 8 will give them a losing record, but they're going to finish around 500. The Browns, I don't know what's going to happen with them. They could win 11 games like they did a couple of years ago. They could win 3 like they did last year. It's just, we'll see. I mean, look, Myles Garrett, they got him to agree to a long-term extension, so you still have him. They got to try to stay healthy because they deal with a lot of injuries on the offensive line. I think they're going to end up taking Travis Hunter with the number 2 pick. So that'll help on, the offensive and defensive side of the ball. I think this team is still good, but it's just the quarterback position. Steelers, it's more just, track record. Like, hey, they finished around 500. They finished over 500 despite, the quarterback position not being great. Although the defense is getting older, but I do like the DK Metcalf trade. You add another weapon to that offense that was much needed. Although they do need to improve the running game. They, lost Najee Harris, which I expect them to address the running back position in the draft. I know they did. Well, they also signed Kenneth Gainwell from the Eagles. But yeah, they signed Darius Slay. They signed Malik Harrison, linebacker. Darius Slay is now going to be in the secondary. So yeah, I mean, once we see what's going to happen with quarterback, we'll get a better image of the Steelers next year. But yeah, right now I got them. I'll put them at 3. I actually will put the Bengals at 2. Now, the Bengals played better down the stretch last season. The Steelers were the opposite. The Bengals won down the stretch. The Steelers lost down the stretch. They lost their final 5 games. If the Bengals defense could be competent next year, they could be average. The defense could be average if, they don't get off to these slow starts. I mean, this team is going to make the playoffs next year. Had they not have lost to the Patriots, first game of the year, they'd be in. But they didn't make it, but they only put up 10 points. And now Jamar Chase is taken care of. T. Higgins is taken care of. Contracts are taken care of. This offense was one of the best in the league last year. And I think, if everybody's healthy, that's the key thing, right? You always say it. The offense stays healthy, they're going to be good. And they really didn't do that much. Other than re-sign their guys. I mean, they re-signed B.J. Hill, Joseph Asai, Cam Sample. They signed T.J. Slayton, a defensive tackle, Marco Wilson, a corner, Oren Burks, linebacker. They signed him. They brought back Samaje Perine to back up Chase Brown, who was good for them last year. So yeah, nothing major. Their major moves are going to come through the draft. And I think for the Bengals, you have to go defensive heavy with this draft. Pass rushers, linebackers, corners, safeties, you name it. Draft starters for your defense, draft depth, all that. It's really that and maybe the offensive line that I have my, issues with the team. Well, offensive line more so is a maybe. Defense, that was the big concern last year. But yeah, obviously you want to keep Joe Burrow upright. So if there's, an offensive lineman maybe they take later, we'll see. But yeah, I got them at 2. And then I got the Ravens. They re-signed Ronnie Stanley. They re-signed Ben Cleveland, a couple of their offensive linemen. They re-signed Patrick Ricard. They brought in Cooper Rush, backup quarterback. Like that move. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year deal. It's going to be the wide receiver 3 behind Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. I mean, low risk, high reward. He scored some touchdowns for the Chiefs last year when they traded for him. Not the same player he once was, but you know what? I think he could still get the job done, especially in the red zone. So, yeah, and obviously you got Lamar Jackson, who was the runner-up to Josh Allen for MVP. I expect Lamar to go out there and have another good year. I know they came up short in the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, I think Lamar's going to go out there and have a good year. And, of course, you have Derrick Henry back there. He's reunited with DeAndre Hopkins. They spent 1 year together in Tennessee. So, yeah. You got to like where the Ravens are at right now. They also extended John Harbaugh this offseason. But yeah, I think this is the Ravens' division to lose. And when Lamar Jackson is healthy, they're the best team in the division, usually. Last year I think was the first time that both quarterbacks were healthy the whole year. Because in Burrow's first year, his rookie year, he got hurt, season-ending knee injury. Lamar Jackson was banged up the next 2 years, and then 2023, Joe Burrow had the wrist injury. Last year was the first year that, they were healthy the whole time. But Bengals still finished 9-8. But I think they will be better next year. I'm still banking on them to be a better team. And, So, we'll see how it goes. But to go through my rankings again, Browns 4, Steelers 3, Bengals 2, Ravens 1. DK Metcalf was one of the major moves, other than extensions. That was probably the biggest move, right, of all the teams. Yeah, and then we'll see, if they bring in Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers do, then that'll probably dethrone that. But, now it's a draft. When it comes to these teams and what they need in the draft, I think the Browns are a team that could take a running back at some point, more offensive, a quarterback, we'll see what they do there. Running back at some point in the draft. Quarterback at some point during the draft. Travis Hunter might be who they take unless it's Abdul Carter. The Steelers, they signed Aaron Rodgers, but they still kind of need a long-term answer at quarterback. Jackson Dart, I know, has been connected to them. Another team that needs a running back. The Bengals, I said, all defense, offensive line maybe. Ravens, Ravens secondary because they were really good against the run last year. Against the pass, they got better, but, they could address that. Also, maybe on the offensive line, maybe another receiver. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the AFC North. So tomorrow we will cover the AFC South, and then Friday will be the AFC West, and then that'll be it for the post-free agency rankings. And then next week is draft week. I keep saying that, but so appreciate you guys tuning in today. I apologize for the late start. I was trying to get my dog back in the house because I wanted to, just make sure that, she was in the house while I was doing the show because no one else is home. And she was giving me a bit of an issue, so that's why we had a little bit of a late start here. But, she doesn't listen at times. But we worked things out. She finally listened and came back in. So that's why we were a little late. But, appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to both YouTube channels, wherever you get your podcasts as well, whether you're on the go or not. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, like I said, wherever you get your podcasts. And we appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day. So until next time, I am Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit.